Good evening, everyone.
Oh,
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Daly,
Here.
Marine,
Here.
Adams, excused. Marine, not Marine, I'm sorry. Dar,
Here.
Ben is also excused, and then Lindsay.
Here.
Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I got too many pieces of paper in the same spot. Okay. Public comments. The City Council will receive public comments on any issue related to the agenda. Limited discussion by the City Council may take place. Anybody? Since not hearing any, we're going to do a proclamation for the recognition of the Mississippi River Days. The Mississippi River is more than just a waterway. It's a lifeline for millions of people, a haven for wildlife, a source of inspiration, recreation, and connection. Spanning 2,350 miles and uniting 2 mainstream states and 32 contributory states within a vast watershed. From the wild rice beds of Minnesota to the oyster bed reefs in Louisiana, the river nourishes communities, supports livelihoods, and brings people together. Today we honor its importance, the commitment to protecting its future. Whereas, for thousands of years, the Mississippi River has been deeply woven in the lives of indigenous people, sustaining communities, and holding profound cultural significance. And whereas the river provides drinking water for over 20 million Americans, fuels local economies through commerce, agriculture, tourism, and recreation. And whereas the river is the heart of a migrating flyway for 60% of North America bird species, and home of hundreds of fish, amphibians, reptiles, and mammal species, making it one of the world's most important ecological corridors. And thereof, pollution, habitat destruction, and climate change threatens the health of the river and the communities that depend on it, requiring contamination across states, agencies, individuals, communities, and organizations to restore and protect this national treasure. And whereas One Mississippi, a network of 78 organizations and 20,000 river citizens, invite you to take action through conservation efforts, advocacy, and simple enjoyment of the river and building communities, especially during River Days of Action from June 1st to the 15th, when people unite to restore, celebrate, and advocate for healthier river. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Michael H. Gerke, Mayor, do hereby proclaim June 2nd as Mississippi River Day, encouraging all to celebrate, protect, and restore the incredible river by participating in events, become a One Mississippi River citizen, and taking action for a cleaner, healthier future. In witness, therefore, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Prescott to affix this, the 11th day of May, 2026.
Make a motion? Don't need a motion?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Make a proclamation.
Consent agenda. City Council organizational meeting, April 21st, 2026. City Council minutes, April 27th, 2026. Planning Commission minutes, May 4th, 2026. Tourism Committee minutes, May 5, 2026. General fund balances for April of 2026. Cash balances, April of 2026. Paid invoice report, April of 2026. Special event permit, Jensen and Wolcott Jack wedding in June 19th, 2026 from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Freedom Park.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 8.
Second.
Any, on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the reports of standing committees and commissions. Finance Committee, there's nothing. Planning Commission. Planning Commission report for Monday, May 4th.
I could take it, Mayor. So the only agenda item on Plan Commission was the Walnut Circle final plat, which is on the agenda for tonight, so I'll save that for later.
Okay,
The one other thing we did discuss was, at the next meeting, we're gonna review our conditional use permits that we have within our zoning districts to review it, make sure the Planning Commission does not wanna change or update anything per Wisconsin state statutes, a rule that was changed back in 2017 that essentially in the state of Wisconsin, if you have a conditional use permit, as long as the developer or the person applying for the conditional use permit agrees to meet all the conditions as set forth by the city and they are reasonable, the city and cities and municipalities cannot turn down that conditional use permit. So just want to verify that the Planning Commission is good with the current conditional uses that we have and does not want to update anything. So that will be at the next meeting.
thanks, Matt.
June.
Next meeting is Monday, June 1st, 2026 at 6 o'clock. Parks and Public Works. The next meeting is Monday, May 18th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Health and Safety Committee report for Monday, May 11th.
Yeah,
Right.
we just met a few minutes ago, and we reviewed the Class B liquor license that's attached to 216 Broad Street, which is Lucille's. And Megan Langer has proposed a business plan for this property. And part of the proposition of this plan is to ensure that the liquor license, which is attached to this property at this time, the city council, or actually health and safety, and it'll move towards council, would approve that she would be able to retain this liquor license because this is, it's imperative to have this license in order to move forward with their business plans. And they're significant business plans. So we're pretty excited about that. We reviewed the UTV, ATV ordinances within the city, whether to open up city streets to allow ATVs and UTVs. After a lengthy discussion, we have decided that we don't see this as a fit within the city due to mostly safety concerns and also the high density traffic downtown. This is just something that we don't envision for the municipality of the city of Prescott. Number 6 on our list was the city staff did work with a company to do a complete survey of all of the first aid and safety compliance or safety equipment at all of these city buildings. And that determination gave us some enlightenment as to what things we need to do to update all of our city buildings and city vehicles to ensure that they are compliant with high-quality safety features and first aid equipment. We discussed 220 Broad Street in regard to that property's condition, and also 244 Elm Street. I'm sorry, 220 Broad Street was a parking issue that we were looking at in between the gas station and the ice cream shop. So we are going to just evaluate right now how any parking between the two buildings. We realize now that that's a private property, but there's also picnic tables and things like that outside, so we'd like to make sure that that's in compliance with city code, so we're looking at that. And then 244 Elm Street is the property that right now is in a bit of disarray that we need to possibly address in the future. That was it.
Thanks, Derek.
Yeah.
Next meeting is Monday, July 13th, 2026 at 5 o'clock. Personnel.
Okay, we met on Wednesday, May 6th, and we had on our agenda a discussion of the K-9 program since ours is no longer in operation, and the Friends Group has, made up of residents, has approximately 30,000 in its positive bank credit. So we really appreciated their effort in funding our K-9 program, and I was really impressed with the fundraising that they were able to do for it, and we loved the dog. And he was well loved by many residents and school kids particularly. But we will not be going back to a K-9 program until we hire a new officer. And so that seems to be about 4 to 5 years out. So our recommendation was to allow the Friends Group to use the money to support another K-9 program as they desire, and perhaps they would be willing to fund another one when we can consider that option again. So then we discussed comp time, and we learned that we are comparable to other cities around us, and we approved the policy and the insertion of the comp time policy. We approved the comp time policy and its insertion into the employee handbook. Does that have to go to council? I forgot.
The employee handbook changes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that, you'll be seeing that later then. We reviewed the Public Works Director position, and which you'll be seeing that as well, council members. And we reviewed an artificial intelligence policy, and believe that should also be included in the employee handbook. So you will be seeing that as well then, the changes. Did I miss anything?
I think you got it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Maureen. Next meeting is still to be determined. Communication of new business. Public comments. The City Council will receive public comments on any issue not related to the agenda items. Limited discussion by the City Council may take place. However, no action will be taken on any item. This includes receiving written requests and documentation and possible action at a future meeting. Resolution 2426, providing for the insurance of sale and general obligation promissory note series 2026A for the city of Prescott, Wisconsin. Matthew?
Thanks, Mayor. So we discussed this at our last meeting in terms of the overall projects, and I'm going to turn it over to Sean Lentz here with Ellers in a second to go into more detail. But the 2026A, just as a background again, is the purchase for the purchase of a new fire engine and the Oren Road pedestrian and street repairs from Pearl Street to Dexter Street. The fire engine payment is due by the end of August, so rather than doing two separate borrowings and having all the additional costs, we're wrapping it all into one borrowing. One thing that is out, just kind of put a little bit of a crinkle, or maybe a wrinkle, I should say, in our our plan is that the DOT last week on Wednesday did inform us that we were approved for our tanker for the construction portion only, and not the design portion. So we had submitted for the pedestrian improvements as part of our planning effort for both. So we need to talk further about that, and we're asking for the council to hold a workshop on the 27th, which is going to be later on in your agenda. But there are things that would potentially change in terms of the amount we're borrowing and how we're borrowing it, because the Wisconsin DOT has said that that construction most likely will not happen until 2030.
So what part did we have approval for what part again?
The more expensive part, which is the construction, so it'd be
Yeah.
about over a $5 million grant to construct the pedestrian bridge over Highway 10 and then the trails and sidewalks as part of what was submitted. But the full design would be 100% on the responsibility of the city, and since it is quite a large project, it would be quite a large scope of funds that would have to be paid.
Do you have a rough estimate how much that would be?
We'd be working with Cedar Corporation to get all that put together for our workshop on the 27th, but not
Okay.
yet.
How did they only approve a portion of it for the TAP grant? I don't know.
Well,
Like-
they said if I'm not wrong, they said that all the construction part, just we have to design it, correct?
Right. And just one correction I wanted to note in the memo, it inaccurately said 376,484 for our current borrowing for this year. Our current debt levy, I should say, is 9,134. So with that, I will turn it over to Sean. Give some more information.
Thank you, Matt. We've got a brief presentation to take you through. It goes into a little bit more detail of what Matt just laid out. The first couple slides are just background before looking at the impact of the proposed new debt that Matt discussed. This chart is a look at the existing situation for Prescott's general obligation borrowing capacity. Talked about this with the council before. You have the option of issuing general obligation debt to finance a lot of your projects. Geo debt's really, ultimately, it's backed by your ability to levy taxes. So it's a very strong pledge. Some geo debt you pay with taxes, other you pay with other revenue sources. Could be utility revenue, could be tax increment district revenue. But the state of Wisconsin puts a limit on this type of debt of 5% of the equalized value of the city. So the greenish line at the top is the current capacity based on the equalized value of Prescott. And then the gray section at the lower part is the borrowing capacity that you've used up this far. So the difference between the two is how much capacity you have available. So using potentially, depending on that final number discussion, in the range of about $2.5 million for projects this year, the city is still far off from your borrowing capacity.
Just one sec.
You bet.
The green line up there, we have borrowing capacity all the way to the green line?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's
Now-
based off, can you repeat that again? Like what the GO, it's the levy, it's our ability to levy, correct?
Yeah, geo debt is when the city issues geo debt, general obligation
Right.
debt. What you say to the people who buy that debt is, we will levy a tax to repay the debt. So the more you issue, the more tax levy commitments you have as a city have put out there. Most of the geo debt is paid by, or a lot, not, I shouldn't say most, a lot of it is paid by the levy, but a good chunk of it here in Prescott's paid by tax increment district revenue and utility revenue. But to the person who buys the debt from the city, they really don't care about those other revenues. They just care that you've pledged, if you have to, you will levy a tax to pay it. Okay.
I just didn't realize we had that much.
Part's important.
Now, this slide, I think, is the more important slide. This is when you guys do your budget every year. This is of the general obligation debt that you have outstanding right now. This is what you're putting on the tax bill, okay? So the chart represents, of all of the general obligation debt that you have outstanding right now, These are the annual debt you've committed to that are going to be paid by the levy. You do have higher payments than this, but the other payments right now are covered by your tax increment districts and your utilities, and your tax increment district and utilities do have the money to make those payments, so we're not showing those here. These are the ones that you're putting on the levy. So this year, as Matt mentioned before, the budget you did last fall, fall of 2025, your payment that you put on the general fund budget was $409,134, and that was principal and interest on your general obligation debt. Now, without any new debt, next year, 27, the payments are scheduled to drop, and then again, you'll see another drop out in 38, 39 right now. Okay, so again, this is debt you already have committed to. What we're going to look at here in a second is with the proposed new issue, what will be the impact going into your budget that you would do this coming fall. Okay, any other questions on
But we
this?
do have a share of payments from TIDS and utilities.
You do,
Okay.
yes. Yep,
Do we have that breakdown?
we do. I
Okay.
don't know that I've got that slide in here, but we can get that for
Okay.
you. The biggest one, just to give you a sense, is you remember the land purchase that
Yeah,
the city
Sears,
did?
yeah.
That's the biggest non-tax levy debt that you have. That's paid by tax increment district number 5. Okay. All right, again, I'll just spend a second on this. Orrin Road and the fire engine are the primary projects this year. The way the borrowing resolution is written, it'll have a little flexibility about if the budget comes in a little less, you have some flexibility there to move for, say, other street or road projects. But this is what primarily we're looking at borrowing pending the meeting you're going to have at the end of the month to deal with the information that you got from the state. Okay. Now, preliminarily, the new repayment schedule for the 2.4, almost 2.5 million projected debt issue for Orrin Road and the fire truck. This is the proposed repayment schedule right now, being the issue being paid back over a 20-year period. And the interest rates that you see being used right now are about 0.5% above what we're seeing in the market. So, the sale is in June as the time schedule is set up right now, depending any changes that the council might have. So we've added about 0.5%. What we've done in the past for a sale like this is we take competitive proposals in the morning of your council meeting. This will be your second meeting in June, and then we present those to the council that evening for your review.
No macro concerns with the rate that we've chosen with what's going on?
I think we always have them, and that's part of the reason we're using the 50 basis
Yeah.
points is
Yeah,
for
yeah.
planning purposes. Since the Iran situation, war, whatever, the best way to describe it, there's lots of descriptions of it. Since it broke out, governmental debt like this has stayed pretty good. I mean, the market did not spike up on us, but you never know. There could be changes between now and June. But we feel pretty good that this is an accurate, conservative projection based on current market conditions. And one other thing I'll mention, when we sell debt like this, when the city puts debt out to the market, the bids you get are fixed proposals for 20 years. So it's kind of like a home mortgage
Right.
interest rate. If you do say a 30-year, at 20 years is as long as we can go under state law. You can't go longer than that. Could go shorter, but then the tax impact is higher. We usually work with the city on trying to match the projects with the useful life of the projects in terms of the repayment term. The first 8 years of the 20 years, we as a city can't do anything to change or refinance the debt or pay early. But starting in the 8th year through the 20th year, if lower interest rates were available, or if you had an influx of cash and you wanted to pay the debt off early, that would be at the city's option. Let's say in the inverse, interest rates went up dramatically from what you see on the screen, and let's say for the sake of this example, we locked in to these interest rates, you would be locked in for the full 20 years, even if rates go up. Okay. And then the payment is projected, around 185 to 190,000 a year to pay it back in that 20-year period. So this slide then is very similar to the slide from a couple ago, but what you see is on top of the existing debt levy, we've added that 185 to 190 payment on top of it. So we're going to go, starting in next year's budget, from a 409,000 for principal and interest on the city's debt to about just under 500,000 principal and interest on the city's debt going forward. And the other thing that this chart shows where you would be after this issue. What the chart doesn't show is any future projects that this council determines are going to have to be financed for other projects in the city. So one of the things we work on with Matt and Beth is just preliminary projections on capital improvement plans that the city works on with other city staff, and what would that look like. And certainly, we don't have that in the whole packet of stuff tonight because we're really focused on this issue specifically, but if those are things that the council, I think you do see, I think Matt shares that stuff, but we constantly are looking at that to try to see maintaining the projects, keeping up your assets in the city, but on the other side, what's the tax impact of doing that? So you kind of have a long-term plan and can manage those two things at the same time. Timeline-wise, the only thing we don't have in here is that issue that Matt mentioned that he's asking for toward the end of the month. But today there's an initial resolution to keep the process moving on the agenda for the council this evening. The resolution can be changed and the numbers can change if the council chooses to do that, but it gets the process started. That's our goal this evening. From there, we start working on the disclosure documentation and work on the bond rating between now and then into June. And the plan at this point is to have the sale on the morning of June 22nd. We work with city staff based on the bids that we get, put together the sale result description and presentation, bring that back, and there would also be a resolution for the council to potentially act on that evening. And then in July is the closing of the financing where the cash is available for the projects that the city has.
So are we gonna need to adjust the amount, Matt, because of this feedback that we got from the DOT?
Yes, so that's most likely going to be the issue, is that because the construction does not start till 2030, we would not be able to use our proceeds during that 3-year period to avoid the arbitrage issues.
Yeah.
And I think Sean's recommendation would be to us, if we can finalize that number and lock in what we can, lock it into that number rather than trying to, try to borrow for 2030 when you run into those issues, so.
So we
Most
do
likely it would go.
partial construction, or like?
Most likely it would go down the amount of borrowing, and then we'd have to borrow as part, again, in the future. We'll put this all together in the 27th, but
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the timing of, what are we gonna take off then, and then,
well, because it's a DOT project, it's probably gonna take 2 years to go through design, because it's gonna have to go through the environmental review and then go through all the state agencies so.
and then for the bond rating and stuff, it's based on the amount that we're going for, because it's all based on our current standing, correct?
Yeah, for the council, the discussions that we have with the bond rating agency will be about this issue specifically. It could be around the 2.5 million, could be reduced depending your meeting on the 27th. The bond rating agencies take this particular issue into context when they look at the city's rating. They take your most recent audit, your budget this year, your future plans for borrowing, all of that's a discussion point. Prescott currently is rated AA3, which is a very, very good rating. AAA is the best, AA1, AA2, AA3. For a city the size of Prescott, the AA3 is an excellent rating. I don't think there's much to be concerned about with this borrowing. I think some of your major CIP projects that potentially could be on the horizon, though that larger amount of potential debt, not that you've made any decisions on that, that's where I think potentially more rating implications can happen.
Yeah, I was more so curious if we're gonna adjust the amount, if that would impact the call that you're gonna have at Moody's, if we wanna wait to finalize that, if it would make the situation better or worse, I don't know.
Understand,
You
no,
know
I'm
what I
sorry I
mean?
missed
Yeah.
your point.
That's all I was saying, is like, do we approve it now with the current amount that we have, or do we work it out with the DOT and then go for a bond rating after that? Or do you not think it's gonna be that impactful based on the amounts that we're even talking about potentially that would come off?
I would agree with your last statement, that
Okay.
given the amounts that we're talking about, and we would explain, like Matt described the whole situation and the process with the state, we'd explain that all to them. They're very familiar with communities working with the state on projects, so it won't be anything new to them.
So our estimated increase of our tax levy in 27, man, is gonna be 69,000, I think is what was in here. So it says additional, the city has 20,000.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have a certain amount that has currently been moved to capital fund temporarily to cover some one-time expenses that would then be transitioned back to the debt levy. So 69,935 is the current estimate of what the
Impact on them.
debt levy increase would be from this year to next year.
I hate taxes. So that's the only reason why I'm asking. I know they're in necessity.
So Orne Road and all that is held off till 32, did you say?
2030 is for the
30.
pedestrian improvements, but that's,
just the pedestrian.
we're gonna talk about all that in the scheduling in terms of what happens what year.
All right.
And this is really our one path to finance the fire truck, correct?
Yeah.
No other path forward?
Yeah, we have to get the fire truck borrowed by the end of July, so we can get the payment done by the end of August.
No other way but to levy?
What's that?
No other way but to levy, basically.
Sorry, I still,
No other way but to levy by doing it this way, right?
She's saying no other way to pay for it except through levy.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ways, I guess, if council wants to consider using the general fund, but that would then go back to the
That-
bond rating.
That offsets
the
that,
borrow.
yeah,
We
yeah.
already
Yep,
talked those through.
I wasn't here. I'm
Oh,
asking
that's
questions.
right, yeah. I thought maybe the planning commission had talked about it too.
This that went in hip planning.
No,
No,
no, the fire truck didn't go to planning.
no, it did not.
Sorry, I'm not able to hear what
She
you're asking.
she
me
said,
to-
I thought it went to planning, and I said, this doesn't get covered by planning.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, the fire truck didn't go to planning.
So,
I'm ready for a motion.
everybody ready for a motion?
I will. I'll motion to approve Resolution 24-26, providing the issuance and sale of general obligation promissory notes, Series 2026A of the City of Prescott, Wisconsin.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Anybody opposed? It's passed. Okay, next is Resolution 2526, approving the final plat of Walnut Circle. Matt?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So, Louis Filkins and Doug Erickson are both here tonight as well if you have questions. This is the final plat for Walnut Circle. At this stage, the city has approved the preliminary plat and the development agreement with Mr. Erickson. So pursuant to the City Code 510-12, Doug Erickson and Ogden Engineering has submitted a final plat for Walnut Circle. The Plan Commission has reviewed and approved that final plat at their last meeting that was just mentioned earlier in council. The final plat does include a minor adjustment between the public park dedication and the stormwater management outlot. The preliminary plat at 23.302 acres in outlot 1 for public park dedication. The final plat has 23.902 acres, and as a result, then the stormwater in outlot 2 at a minor adjustment of 4.001 acres to the final plat now is 3.386 acres. So as we look at the final plat, really that change was just moving this line here, where it is currently, was connected here. So we're just transitioning that acreage, because that's where the trail coming off Walnut Circle down into the outlot 2, allowing us in the future, if we ever want to go for park grants or other opportunities for funding, to fund that through those, because generally state and federal grants are tied to the actual parcel themselves. So That's the only reason why that change was made in adjustment. Otherwise, everything else is consistent with the preliminary plat. There are 9 lots. They're all larger in size, and they all remain the same in terms of the actual lot size from the preliminary plat. So, as mentioned, council or plan commission approved this by a 5-0 vote and recommended to the council. The final plat does remain consistent with the approved layout from the preliminary plat. It is still subject to conditions as listed in the resolution, 25-26. So the recommendation before council is to approve resolution 25-26, approving the final plat for Walnut Circle. And if you have any questions as well, I can turn them over to Louis or Doug if you do as well.
I would make the motion to approve resolution 2526.
Second?
You got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Resolution 2626, approving the development agreement between the City of Prescott and TB Prescott LLC. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. So TB Prescott LLC, or the Bluffs, is a proposal that's gone through a number of reviews. It is an 106-unit multifamily residential development located at 1452 Glenridge Drive on the 3.5 acre parcel, which is zoned R4 high-density residential. In December of 2025, the developer, Capital Investment Partners, requested economic development assistance for the potential project. The City of Prescott, Prescott School District, Pierce County, and Chippewa Valley Tech College have approved an amendment to Tax Increment District Number 6 because of the development assistance request in the beginning of April. To date, as well, the project has received approvals from the for a planned unit development overlay zoning district for R5 high-density residential, approval of a certified survey map to combine 2 lots, approval of the site plan review, and then approval of that amendment to TID 6, which was planned by the Plan Commission, Common Council, and Joint Review Board. So just to give an overview of what tax increment districts and how TIF financing works, tax increments financing is an economic development tool authorized under the state statutes that allows for municipalities to fund public improvements and to encourage private investment with a designated tax increment district, which is often called a TID. When a TID is created, the current equalized property value within the district is established as the base value. Taxes are then generated from that base, continue to go to the existing taxing jurisdictions, such as the city, county, school district, technical college. And then as development occurs and property values increase, the additional taxes generated from the increase in value are set aside in a special fund to pay for eligible project costs within the TID when it was first formed. And that's what a TID project plan is done when that TID is first formed. So TID 6, which is the one that we are looking at tonight, was formed, and that plan was approved in September of 2024. Eligible TIF expenses for TID 6 then include developer incentives. Wisconsin law requires municipalities to demonstrate that the development within the TID would not occur but for the use of TIF assistance, and that's why we worked with the Ellers. Not only Sean, but also Shane did a full review, and that was discussed and brought forward as the project did meet the but-for test. And then once all project costs and debt obligations are paid, the TID is closed, and the full increase in property value is returned to the tax rolls, benefiting all taxing jurisdictions. So just to give a graph here, so TIF is created, we did this in September of 2026. The base value right here, which is really just the land right now, there's no other improvements. As it joins the TIF, as the value, then that assessed value goes up. The increment in real property taxes, rather than going to all the authorities, goes to offsetting and making it so the project is whole through the developer and TIF assistance. And then the value goes up as the project then closes. That new post-project assessed value then is distributed to all taxing jurisdictions, resulting in a greater increase in taxes for all taxing entities. So in terms of the agreement, the city will reimburse the developer using 90% of the actual tax increment generated by the project from tax years 2030 through 2044. Which payments are capped at the lesser of either the actual increment generated by the development or $4,545,000 in total assistance over the next 14 years. The agreement does contain a number of protections for the city. First, it's a pay-as-you-go structure. The city only reimburses increment actually generated by the project, so it does not face any liability. There are a number of look-back provisions, or 2 look-back provisions upon completion. If the project costs are lower than projected, the TIF award is reduced accordingly. The cash-on-cash return analysis, if a project returns exceed the negotiated thresholds, the project TIF award may be reduced. And then there's a guaranteed minimum assessment. The developer agrees to maintain a minimum assessed value of $15,119,400 through at least tax year 2039, payable 2040. Public improvements. There are a number of public improvements that the developer is agreeing to install that are part of the development agreement. This includes improvements as part of the project, a public sidewalk along Dexter Street, a rectangular rapid flashing beacon pedestrian crossing at the mid-block on Dexter Street, going from the park there to the other side of Dexter to the sidewalk. One thing I did want to highlight, a public trail connection between Dexter Street and Borner Street, utility and stormwater infrastructure improvements. So we've talked about this public trail connection between Dexter Street and Borner Street, and the original idea was that we would be working through that ourselves as a city. The developer does want to make sure that is included, so as part of the development agreement, what is being proposed is that the trail development from Dexter to Borner Street would be fully designed and constructed by the developer with the city approval of the final design. City would then reimburse the developer for out-of-pocket expenses related to the trail not to exceed $80,000 through verified paid invoices. All other public improvements must be completed then before a certification of completion will be approved. Fees and financial contributions. There's a number of impact fees that are being included in the development agreement that the developer is required to pay. Police impact fees of $21,968, fire $18,865, library impact fees $70,254, parks impact fees $90,707. And then I won't go through all the water. They're based on the meter size, so total water and sewer impact fees or connection fees are $104,586. And as we had discussed as part of the approval, since there is land directly to the north that the city already owns and can develop a park rather than having additional land that's not needed, the developer has agreed to pay a fee in lieu of parkland dedication that will go to the further developing and improving that park of $75,000. So what are the benefits of this development, and specifically this development agreement? Creates a large capital investment of in excess of $15.1 million in the community, which would make the project the second largest taxable development within the city behind UNFI. Supports future housing needs and additional residential units that may assist future employment and growth associated with the city's 150-acre business park. May provide additional student enrollment for the Prescott School District as enrollment numbers decline. CapFest has estimated approximately 15 to 35 additional students from the development based on data from their past projects. Under the reverse TIF structure, approximately 10% of the tax increment generated remains with the city and the taxing jurisdictions during the life of the agreement, so that goes into that special fund that I mentioned, which is estimated at approximately $557,765, which helps support future infrastructure investment in the Prescott Business Park. And the development adds additional housing diversity within the community and supports the city's long-term comprehensive plan growth objectives with the last multifamily project completed in the city in 2004. So with that, consideration of approval of Resolution 26-26, approving a development agreement between the City of Prescott and TB Prescott LLC. Additionally, Trevor Boland with CapFest is also here to help answer questions if you have any or address any comments that you may have.
I got my comments too late, Matt, so right before this meeting, but I don't know if you want to look at them and give any feedback or if there's any amendments you'd make based on that.
Well, I've got a chance to look at, I guess, just briefly, I guess your first point was, I think the other ones.
I can read them if I need to.
What's that?
I can read them if I need to.
I guess your first point, if you want to read that one, that would be the one that I think the other points that you mentioned are already addressed somewhat in there and are covered, but the first point is the one.
Yeah, I guess the TIF look back and cash-on-cash provisions. So in my past experience, we've done an independent CPA audit. And then the city did reserve the right to also audit for, I don't know, it was a 3-year period. So that is something that I had on there. And then any reduction in the 4.545 million reimbursement mandatory with only a narrow 10% materiality threshold for minor errors. So I have that.
So I think out of all those, I would just, so right now we have the 10% threshold.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, it depends on how much the council wants to get into minutia here. I would say that the 10% is a threshold that's viable. I think the biggest question would be the independent audit, and I don't know how Trevor feels about having an independent audit done as part of the look back. If that would
No
be something
developer's
that,
going to want to do an independent audit with a CPA. Hello. That's why we would be requiring from the city.
right, I'm just.
Not the
'cause
developer. I mean,
Right.
you know,
At this point, we've been working on this, and I'm just saying, how much do we want to revise this, and how much do we want to,
I'm just looking up
Yeah.
from this seat
right,
out.
yep.
So that's why I brought that up. And then the other one I had was the guaranteed minimum assessed value. I think the only thing I had in there, I was trying to find the section, I may have missed it because I read this pretty quickly, but I had add a clear make whole remedy requiring the developer to pay the city the exact tax increment shortfall within 30 days if the assessed value drops below the floor. Explicitly state that the obligation binds successors, assigns, and survives any sale, transfer unless the buyer assumes it in writing with city consent. You said that was already in there, though? Something
Yeah, so
along
there,
those lines?
per that point, there's no way, per the development agreement, that the assessed value can drop below the minimum,
Okay.
so that wouldn't be applicable.
And then the only thing I had was the unavoidable delays. So it's a pretty broad statement that we have there. So anything related to, what did I have here? Narrow the definition of unavoidable delays, exclude developer-controlled permitting or post-start supply chain issues is what I had. We have something with God and war and something in there, acts of God and then war and some other things. That could impact material, which is understandable. Maybe not the supply chain issues. And then requiring extension request in writing. Do we have that in there? Extension request?
Extension for, we're saying if the project.
Timing, yeah, and if there's any fees or anything that we charge for that, for late times, because we had a date, I think it's December, I gotta find it.
Well, we have the completion date in there, which I believe is August 30. December 31st
yeah.
of 2028.
28.
So, I mean, they would have to come back, Trevor would have to come back to council and get an extension request, I believe. That's how we have it in all of our other development agreements. There's a provision that states if an extension is needed, that the developer would come before.
Okay.
If it isn't due to unavoidable delays, though, that's the caveat within the
Yeah,
agreement.
I read our definition, that was the only thing, is do we want to narrow that at all? And then the other thing I had was the public improvements, acceptance, warranty, and performance security underneath Exhibit E. The timed acceptance process, that's the only other thing I was trying to find, but maybe you already found that. Or if we have a documented process. I was trying to find it in our ordinance, I thought I found something, but,
For public improvements related, there's a resolution requirement that goes before council. We have to have it reviewed by our engineer. They sign off on it if it's good. Once those improvements are done, then we bring it to council to accept those public improvements. I can't remember offhand if it specifically calls that full language out in the development agreement, but.
and then I think the only other bullet I had was require, and I think you said you might already have this, but it's the require the 120% LLC or agreed upon percentage to stay in place until 1 full year after acceptance and the final warranty release. And then name the city as an additional insured on all policies.
Yes, so that is within there. The
Okay.
120% stays in place for 14 months after the public
14?
improvements are
Okay.
in place.
Okay. And then the insurance? Insurance. So name the city as an additional insured on the policy, on all policies. I couldn't find that.
Yes, that is in there as well.
I missed it. What section is that under?
So under Exhibit E,
Thank you.
item E.
I missed that. So really, it's the first bullet.
Yes, one is, I guess, the one.
And then we wouldn't have any late fees, like if the timing doesn't hit, like if it doesn't get completed by December, and it's not due to some ungodly thing.
Right, if it's not due to unavoidable delays,
Yeah.
if there's some other reason that Capital Investment Partners would come forward and ask for an extension, that would be,
No fees.
there's no fees that are associated with, no. To go to your first point, we don't have an independent auditor, we do have a financial advisor review the information. I think that's what specifically, Sean can correct me if I'm wrong, Shane would be doing.
Right, that's stabilization, right?
Yeah, ours
So-
isn't the independent CPA, it's theirs.
Right, so
Yeah,
that's,
and
I
then
guess,
we would just hold the right to audit for 3 years.
right.
That's the feedback I had.
Anything else, Bailey?
Is there any other discussion?
No.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 26-26, approving a development agreement between the City of Prescott and TB Prescott LLC.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. Roll call. Lindsay,
Aye.
Dar,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Bailey.
Nay.
Well, the ayes have it. Okay, the last one is approving the cancellation of city council meeting for May 25 due to Memorial Day holiday.
Make motion?
Second?
We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nope.
I don't think so, but other business. Discussion of holding a council workshop for Wednesday, May 27 at 5 p.m.
So, we'd like to set the workshop not only to discuss the TAP grants notification that we got last week and discuss how that financing and the funding would work moving forward. We'll have updated numbers for you and how that timeline would work out. Would also like to discuss the future and update on the public safety buildings that we've been discussing for the past couple of years and where we're at with that as part of that workshop. So hoping to hold it. We're canceling one meeting, unfortunately. We're scheduling another one, but it's a couple days then after
I
Memorial
will
Day.
try to make it, but I have a meeting that is like needed drive time, so I might be a little late.
Okay.
Which you're good with it?
I'm good with it.
I mean, yeah, I just might be a little bit late.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody else good?
Yeah.
All right, then I guess we'll have it.
And Adam and Ben both, I texted them and they both said that they were available, so that.
Okay.
Do you need a motion on that, or?
No, that's fine. We'll
Okay.
set it. And
Then we
post it.
have no closed session.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We're adjourned.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion. I didn't think anybody would.